Welcome to Writing High Quality Learning Targets. The goal for this course is to provide support for teachers in developing high quality learning targets for their classes. Our professional learning target is I can create 12 to 20 high quality learning targets for a 1-year-long course or 2-semester courses. By the end of this course, teachers will submit a set of high-quality learning targets for a 1-year-long course or 2-semester courses. Let's begin by defining learning targets. According to EL Education, learning targets are concrete goals that are written in student-friendly language and clearly describe what students will learn and be able to do by the end of a class period, a unit, a project, or even a course. Learning targets begin with an I can statement, and we post them in the classroom using slides, on posters, on whiteboards, and also in Schoology with our syllabi, in our gradebook, our learning objectives, and on assessments. We use the term target intentionally as it conveys to students that they are aiming for something specific. When we use learning targets, we're setting clear, concrete goals that students can understand and work towards. We demystify pathways to success. We allow students to assume responsibility for assessing their own learning progress and provide equitable standards that all students can achieve. According to the EL Education core practices, high-quality learning targets are derived from standards that are embedded in school or district documents, such as curriculum maps and adopted program materials. High-quality learning targets are written in student-friendly language, beginning with the sentence stem, I can. Learning targets are measurable and use concrete, accessible verbs like identify, compare, and analyze. The verb will suggest the way in which the target will be assessed. High-quality learning targets are specific. They refer to the actual context of a lesson, project, or case study. They're focused on the intended learning, not the intended doing. They're phrased as statements about the skills, knowledge, or reasoning students will develop, as opposed to what students will complete. For example, I can describe the ideal habitat for a polar bear is a better learning target than I can write a paragraph about the habitat of a polar bear. High-quality learning targets are matched to the cognitive skills demanded of students, including knowledge, reasoning, or skills. Let's take a look at some examples. In the first example, we are looking at a Minnesota art standard. Collectively or individually apply inquiry methods of observation and research to investigate an area. A learning target based on this standard is, I can use research to inform and develop my own ideas. So let's look through our checklist of high-quality learning targets. This learning target is standards-based. It is in student-friendly language. When paired with a rubric, it could be measurable. When paired with instructions, the verbs could be concrete and accessible. They're not specific, but they are focused on learning and not doing, and they are matched to the cognitive process of reasoning because students are creating. In this next example, we're looking at another Minnesota standard, this one for science. Construct an explanation based on evidence for how environmental and genetic factors influence the growth of organisms and/or populations. The learning target, I can use evidence to explain how environmental and genetic factors influence the growth of organisms, is standards-based. It's in student-friendly language, but it's not very measurable. It's not very concrete, and the verbs are not accessible. It's not specific. It is focused on learning, not doing, and it is matched to reasoning because students are using evidence. Let's reframe this learning target. Let's change it to, I can analyze experimental data. Now we're getting much more measurable and concrete. To explain how fertilizer influences the growth of fast plants. This is very specific, and it's tied to a summative assessment of a lab notebook in which students record experimental data and use that data to explain the impact of different amounts of fertilizer on the growth of plants that they grow in class. Writing learning targets is an ongoing process, And while we're drafting some today, it's important to remember that they don't need to be perfect to begin with. And as we lean into this work, all of us will be constantly revising our learning targets. The assignment for this course is to examine some standards and then to build learning targets for one course. This can be 1 year-long course or 2 semester courses. Resources that are provided in the Schoology course include an excerpt from Leaders of Their Own Learning, a core EL education text called Learning Targets, the Foundation of Student Engaged Assessment, which goes into details about how using high-quality learning targets draws students into the processes of self-assessment and intentional growth towards the learning target. There is also a rubric showing what high-quality learning targets look like, and also beginning and developing learning targets so that we understand that it's a constant process of revision. Also provided is a list of verbs to use in learning targets: knowledge verbs, skills verbs, reasoning verbs, and on the following page, craftsmanship and character verbs. Other resources provided, including the link to St. Paul Public Schools Office of Teaching and Learning curriculum page. This may or may not be helpful for your course. Go ahead and click on the course that you are writing learning targets for this course, and you may or may not have some learning targets or standards already aligned to your course. For example, if we go to social studies, many of the courses have a course at a glance, and in the course at a glance, learning targets are already articulated for the course. For example, Unit 1, Intro to Human Geography, has the learning target: I can identify and apply tools used by geographers, such as maps, map features, charts, data, etc. This would be a great starting point for your own. However, not all subject areas have that level of detail. So another website is provided. It's the link to the Minnesota Department of Education Academic Standards site, which may include the standards that you need to develop your own learning targets. An additional resource provided is a syllabus template. The way to submit learning targets for this course to earn your CLAC hours is to embed them in your OWL course syllabus. The course syllabus provides space for 4 learning targets each quarter, but you may need 1 or more, fewer, or greater than this number. Simply go to Format, Table, and you can use that to add or delete rows. Once you get to the assignment for this course, go ahead and submit your syllabus to receive CLAC hours. Thanks very much.